Welcome to Gutsy Coach Week and Get Gutsy episode number 99 with Elizabeth Winheld on Design Your Own Life. Welcome to Get Gutsy. I'm your host, Jenny Fennig, and I am so excited to be on this journey with you. A cutting-edge show blending business and spirituality, Get Gutsy serves up a potent blend of stories, lessons, and tips to help you make a massive impact in the world through your soul's work and your inspired life. No more going it alone, no more excuses. The world needs more brave women saying yes to leadership. Are you with me? Good. Let's get gutsy now. All right, y'all. Jenny Fennig here. Welcome to Get Gutsy and Gutsy Coach Week. This is going to be such an amazing experience. Are you feeling the energy already? I am feeling the energy already. I love bringing on rising star coaches, just light worker leaders who are making a huge impact in the world. So let me introduce you to our guest today, and then we're going to dive in because she has so much to share and so much to teach us about living authentic lives and building really gorgeous businesses. Elizabeth Winheld is her name. She's an entrepreneur, a business and branding expert, and a certified coach. She's a champion for sustainable entrepreneurship and authentic living. After more than a decade building a six-figure design business, she boldly left it behind with two small children in tow in pursuit of a deeper sense of purpose and connection. Elizabeth now empowers other women to build beautiful businesses that truly serve them, to become their most powerful, authentic selves, and to settle for nothing less than extraordinary lives. How are you doing today, Elizabeth? Thanks so much for being here.
I am fantastic. Thanks for having me, Jenny.
Yeah, I've been looking forward to our conversation for quite some time. You were like one of my OGs, original Gangster Goddesses. And Get Gutsy Coach Training School way back when. Were you in our first ever class or a second ever class?
I was. Mm-hmm. I was in the first class, so I'm an OGG, an original OGG. Gutsy girl.
Love it, love it, love it. It's really fun for me to kind of, go back in time and remember like when our original connection happened. And then also I think it's interesting because I want to learn more about your backstory and what you maybe thought you would do with your life before you figured out like, oh, maybe that wasn't quite it. Because for me, my original plan, and we talked about that in some of our pre-show banter, like, that joke, man plans and God laughs sort of thing, like, oh, I have this plan. But my original quote plan when I went into college, the University of Florida way back when, was I was going to major in English and minor in secondary education. My idea was to be an English teacher. I was like, I just want to be a teacher. I love that whole thing. And then, my path took many twists and turns, but it's really fascinating to me because I am a teacher now. I just have a coaching school and I teach people all over the world. And so it's really interesting to look at that because I know for me in my path, finding my way was like my big focus and a big struggle for a long time. I know you've had twists and turns on your journey. I'm guessing a lot of your clients are in those twisty, turny moments as well, and that's why they come to work with you. And so what I wanted to start our conversation on is, what did you think you wanted to be when you grew up? Back when perhaps when you were in high school or when you were choosing a major in college. Kind of take us back to that point in time, Elizabeth.
Totally. I first decided that I was going to be a writer, I think when I was about 9. And I wrote a novel, or started writing a novel at 11. And I'm sure I still have it somewhere. It's like double-spaced, handwritten on, a notebook paper. And then I was also a very avid dancer. And so when I went on to college, I did a BFA in modern dance and I did a BA in nonfiction writing and editing. So those two things kind of stayed through childhood and college. And I still love to write. I've always loved to write. I know that I will want to write a book someday. But yeah, lots of twists and turns. I mean, I think when I look back that most of my career was built reactively, that I didn't really have a plan, that I didn't even really, I don't know, somehow I missed that part of high school where you should have a plan, or maybe I just rebelled against it because I was very creative. So I got into the magazine world right out of college as an editor and immediately was drawn to the design side and then got into design and then the entrepreneurial side kicked in and I started my own design business, and it just kind of grew from there throughout my 20s and into my 30s. So it wasn't really a plan. It was just like, oh, this is fun. I like doing design. And then, oh, this client wants a website, so I guess I do web design. And so the twists and turns that were happening were based on other people's agendas. And I think that is so common amongst people, especially when you are a hard worker and you want to be impressive to your clients or to a boss. It's like, yes, sir, I can do that for you. No problem. And then we kind of get off course for what's like authentically true to us.
Yeah, so well said. I like the point you made about the reactive decision making. And when we're young, it's easy to do that. You want to be a pleaser, and you're like, well, yeah, I'll figure that out. Or I need the work, I need the money, I need the job. So yes, I will go do that. And I feel like much of that is figuring out, well, what do we really love to do, and what are we great at? And it's kind of through that trial and error. That's interesting that you started in the magazine world. Where were you living at the time that you were working in the magazine world?
I was in Washington, D.C.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so what types of magazines were you working for?
I was an editor for a lifestyles magazine called Play DC. It was like arts and lifestyles for 20-somethings. Yeah.
Cool. And so you're in DC, and was it in DC that you started your design business?
Well, it's in DC that I started designing. So I would work with the designer until all hours of the evening, laying out the magazine. And I would get really, really particular about the layout. And he was like, here, this is how you do it. Just do it yourself. I'm going to go take a nap because it's 2 a.m. And so I got really invested in that. And some of the advertising clients that we had in that magazine then became my design clients. And around that time, I was just a couple years out of college, I moved to New York City. And so I brought those design clients with me. And when I got to New York, when I didn't also have a magazine job, is when I really started my business and getting more clients.
Love that. So you went from Washington, D.C. to New York City. Love it. So you spent some time in New York, as did I. That place, I really do believe that statement, if you can make it there, you can make it anywhere. So how was it growing a business in New York? How did you find that experience for yourself?
Well, for the first few years, I was not growing a business, I think. I was just taking freelance work.
Got it.
And moving day to day, which is a mistake that I think a lot of people make in business. They just focus on the day to day. They focus on what's in front of them, and they're not really steering the ship. So that's kind of what I was doing, but I was young and I was loving life in New York. And I was also, had a part-time career as a professional dancer in New York. And so I had all these things going on, coming up as a choreographer. And then it's interesting when I sort of had my meltdown where I was like, I don't want to do this anymore. It became really clear that though I was shifting, that the coaching was a big shift for me, that I had been using my gifts that whole time. And that I pinpointed the main gift that as a designer, what I really thrived on doing, what I loved doing, and what I did well for my clients was helping them kind of crystallize their vision into an idea that we could bring to fruition. And it just happened to be in a visual form, whether it was a website or a logo or what have you. And I still do that with people.
I love
but I don't have to also do I'm not doing the design implementation.
Right. So you took that out because you realized that wasn't perhaps your zone of genius, and you didn't need to stay up until 2 or 3 a.m. anymore, like nitpicking the pieces, which I totally relate to because I obsess over design as well. And my last New York City job was, I was a conference producer. And so I was in charge of creating content, essentially like a 3-day learning experience for leaders within a particular industry, whether that be the brand design industry, or they were kind of functions, they were designers or they were customer service experts or researchers. And one of my favorite parts of the job was helping our designer lay out the brochure, like design the brochure, because we did a lot of mailings. We basically were database marketers, okay? And I was so obsessed with the brochures. Like most people did not care as much as me, but I was. Plus, some of my conferences were for designers. It's like you can't serve up crap to designers. I mean, that will not fly. You have to speak to your audience, and I love that very, very much. But if I would be, if I would have been a designer, I would never get anything done. But it served you well, because I've seen the way that you've grown your coaching business and what you're doing now. And I know you'll tell people how they can, find out more about you as we go deeper into our conversation today. But your website is beautiful. Your graphics are beautiful. What you put up on social media, it's gorgeous. And so strength that you have around design, and like you said, crystallizing a vision into an idea that we can bring to fruition, that has served you well and will continue serving you well as you're building out, what you're building. So talk to us about how you made that pivot, because eventually, I don't know if you met your husband, I think you all were still living in New York or okay. And so you eventually were like, we can't live here anymore. How did that happen?
Right. So we met in New York, and it finally got to a point where we were just sort of cranky all the time.
That's a good sign.
And I'm like, I'm not really this cranky of a person. And so in 2007, we moved out to Boulder, Colorado. We just needed to get off the East Coast, and we're ready for something totally different. And when we transitioned, we decided to start a business together. So we took the existing design business that I had and morphed it slightly to include a letterpress printing business. And so my husband became the printer and I was the designer. And again, still building beautiful things for people and learning a lot about online marketing and learning a ton about being a business owner by trial and error. And, business training, kind of did things in reverse. Like, I need a marketing plan. Maybe I should take some training. So really threw myself in the trenches, learned a ton. A lot of stuff that came naturally to me, and a lot of stuff that I just acquired. So I feel like I know a ton about the branding side, the marketing side, the graphic side, and then also the technology side, the plugins, the automated software, all that stuff.
Yep.
And so that's a whole big piece of it. And I remember I was pregnant with our second child. So sorry, I'm jumping back and forth.
That's
so
okay.
We started the business in 2007, and it was around 2013, I think, when I had a 2-year-old, and I was just like, you know what? I don't really feel like I want to do this anymore. But I felt like I didn't have a choice. I felt like we actually had a mantra, a poster in our letterpress studio that said, "There is no plan B."
Oof.
And it was really motivating for a little while. And then it became like this just death sentence. There's no plan B, you have mouths to feed. And I started reading books, and I remember reading the Firestarter Sessions by Danielle Laporte and being like, well, that's great for other people. It's too late for me. Here I am, I was 35 at the time. It's too late for me.
Right. It's over.
And I kind of threw myself into mothering and threw myself into busyness, which is a big syndrome that I help my clients with.
Good.
And that kept me busy and kept me from thinking about the bigger things and just trudging forward. And it was when I was pregnant with my second child, and I was working with a very, very, very stressful, abusive client and working crazy long hours for her while I was very pregnant. I was working for her until 5 hours before my daughter was born.
Wow. Yep.
When it finally hit me, I have spent more time worrying about moving these stupid lines around on the page for this woman than I have thought about designing my own life.
Oof.
It just was like a brick.
Boom.
Yeah. So I had an employee coming in to take over for me while I took a little maternity leave. And I just luxuriated in it, reading books, and I hired a life coach and started meditating and really leaned into my women's group and journaling and just totally feeling into what was going on for me, because it was really scary.
Sure.
I'm like, we have 2 kids, we have a mortgage, we have a business, we have business debt. What am I going to leave my husband stranded with this business? And just, what am I,
Right.
It was very dramatic, but it just sort of shifted a little bit day by day in my brain until it felt inevitable.
How did that shift occur? Because I know a lot of our listeners are in that place. They're in that place of like, it's too late for me. That applies to everyone but me. Oh, this is great. And so it's starting, like they're starting to feel those shifts, but they have that fear. And so how would you coach them right now? Or what are some of those insights that you gleaned from your journey that I'm sure are coming up with your clients, as you said, because we tend to teach what we've learned ourselves. All right.
Totally.
So go back to that point in time and kind of walk us through that process when you liberated yourself and what you learned, that our listeners could be like, oh yeah, I'm going to do that too.
Yeah. Two things that come to mind just off the bat. One is to try to dive into the worst case scenario. Because chances are it's really not that bad.
Right. Yes, I love that.
When we just feel this fear of the unknown and this amorphous thing, we think, oh my God, that's impossible. I could never do that. But if you say, well, really, what could happen? Well, really, then what could happen? And, you know, what after that and after that until you get to the bottom of it. And I kind of looked at that both, what's the worst case scenario if I stay where I am? And what's the worst case scenario if I make a change? And the second big piece is that it doesn't have to be this big dramatic break. Like it felt very dramatic for me internally, but you can make a change like gradually over time. You can stay in your full-time job and start gradually exploring other options or building a new business part-time. You know, it's not like you're pulling the rug out from underneath yourself with no plan for the future. You can have overlap and you can have gentle, slow change. I mean, if that's what you need, if you feel like you need a swift kick in the butt and you need to pull the rug out in order to really get you moving, then, you know, you can have that too.
Yes. Well said. And I've definitely been in all of those scenarios where it's like the gentle slow over time. And even when I feel like there's like the abrupt, like we need to just move, it's been building. Like it's sometimes when we're in that, it feels so like, oh my gosh, we're in crisis. How did we get here? But then when you look back after you get through it and you have a little bit more, you know, groundedness and you're not so much like so emotional about it, you look back, you're like, oh, I see it. You know, you see all those signs that maybe we weren't willing to see originally, or we couldn't connect the dots when we were in it. You look back like, oh, okay.
Totally. Completely.
Love that. Okay. And so you were in this place, you're like, oh my gosh, 5 hours before you're giving birth, you know, you're dealing with this, you know, toxic client who basically in my eyes, it's like, she was almost an angel on your path saying,
totally.
You're either going to deal with this life or you're going to change it. Okay. Because if you're going to deal with it, you're going to deal with more people like me.
Exactly. I had already announced to myself and the world and my husband/business partner that I wasn't going to do any more websites. And we were having a slow month and this woman was there and I quoted the project really high and she accepted the bid. And so I took the job, even though in my gut, I was just like, no, this is wrong. And it was completely the universe saying, hey, you said you weren't going to do this anymore. Do you really need to learn it the hard way?
Right.
And I did.
You did need to learn it the hard way. So how did you extricate yourself from that situation? Because, you know, you're going through this project probably, like you're very pregnant, you have your baby.
Yeah.
Then it was around this time, I believe, that, you know, you were thinking about becoming a coach. So just kind of like bring us to that point where you're like at that breaking point, and then how did the coaching piece come into the conversation?
Totally. Well, I had, it had been up for me for a while. It had been brewing kind of the whole time I was pregnant. And I started, after a few months of it being there inside of me, like I could see myself as a leader. I could see myself empowering people. I could see myself inspiring people and helping them into action. And I was finding myself coming into that role through my women's group and through a business circle of women that I was in. And it was just sort of naturally emerging. I've always been very confident and I've always been sort of the rock friend in friendships.
Yes.
And so that's been a dynamic my whole life, but I was starting to emerge as a leader. And, you know, as a business owner and with working with clients, there's always, I remember one client said, "You have a great bedside manner." And I thought that was so funny because I was always this confident voice of inspiration and reason to people. And that was coming out of me. And I finally started talking about it. And as I started talking about it, and like I said, I hired a life coach and started doing a lot of personal development work. This is in the late stages of my pregnancy. That the more that started unraveling for me in a good way, unraveling sounds like a bad word, the more things were getting heightened and stressful with my other situation. It was kind of like the more I tried to drift away from it, the more it was kind of dragging me down. And the birth of my daughter just caused this split. You know, everything had to stop.
Yep.
And I won't go into the gory details of how it unraveled with that particular client. It was really ugly, and ended up spending money to get like not a restraining order, but legal business, so she can't contact me and blah blah blah.
Wow.
But
but hey, you know what? I actually want to pause you that yes.
Yeah.
And not only will that happen sometimes in situations like that, but if it hasn't happened to you already, Elizabeth, it will, where as you go deeper into your business as a coach and grow, and you are like you're superstar, like you have so much potential within you, and you're already realizing it. This happens too, even when we're doing work that we love, even when it's like, oh, wow, you may have never even talked to the person before, and they, and so I just want to shine a light on that. You obviously experienced it in that particular situation. But for our listeners to realize, because I know for a lot of people who I get a chance to teach, or they're in my community and it happens to them for the first time, they're like, they can't believe it. They're so crushed. They're so demoralized. They want to give up. You want to almost like hide under the covers. You want to just be like, can someone else handle this for me? Because why is this, And so it's going to happen. And it sounds like with this woman, she obviously was really drawn to you. She saw that you had this gift and you had this talent. And then you're basically saying, this isn't going to work for me anymore. I've got to part ways, and not everybody can handle that. And so she was acting out, and you probably triggered some old abandonment issue of hers. And so it's really fascinating. Okay. So this was happening. So you're like, got your newborn baby girl at home, and you're dealing.
I had been working with my coach, and it had been in the back of my mind, if I want to be in this role of empowering women and holding retreats and helping create real change in the world, in the way people walk through the world, it seemed like becoming a coach was sort of the clearest path to get there. And so as I had been coached, I was starting to say aloud, I think I want to try coaching. And I was planning to go to the what is it called? The Coach Training Institute, which is a very big one. And all of their stuff is in person, and it was in person in Denver. But I had a newborn, and I was nursing 10 times a day. And so as I'm nursing 10 times a day, I had gotten on your mailing list. I don't remember how, some giveaway or summit or something. And I just, within weeks of me starting to talk about, well, maybe it's coaching and researching coaching, I get an email from you that just has a subject of, want to be a coach? I'm like, well, actually, I think I do. So I listened to your webinars, and I really liked the format, and I liked the way that you were combining the coach training with the marketing piece, which is really my language. And so that felt really real and practical to me. And I liked that I could start doing it at home. I remember listening to your trainings like while I was nursing and falling asleep and having to start over because I was sleep deprived. And then it just kind of happened from there. I mean, once I was in the training, I started with the peer coaching, which was great. And that kind of got my confidence up, and it has just continued to grow from there.
That was so cool. Thank you for bringing me back to that. It's when you create something, when you have this dream, like for me, creating Get Gutsy Coach Training School, it was the natural next step after my book came out. And I know you have a book inside of you, Elizabeth, no question. And so when Get Gutsy came out, I mean, that was a multi-year project for me, from point of conception to actual birth, like birthing that thing and launching that thing, because I do have babies, and you gotta, other things that feel like they're bigger priorities, and all of that stuff comes into play. And so once that came out, it was like, oh my gosh, I was able to see in a way that I hadn't been able to see before, because the book was taking up all of my bandwidth. And I just thought, wow, there's this need in the market. And you don't always know like what's happening in the individual like households of each one of your students. But as you took me to that place in time that you are a new mom, and that makes me get emotional just thinking about this opportunity that we have created, where a lot of the more old school schools, right, the classical coach training schools that have been around for a lot longer, maybe they're not serving that need of mothers in particular who want to nurse their babies. Like I did the same thing, and you can't just go away when your baby's super small. If you want to nurse, you can't maybe pump as much as you want to straight out of the gate. And that, it's funny because as I think back to my coach training journey, I got pregnant with my first child when I was in my coach training experience, and we had a lot of in-person stuff, and it was definitely designed differently than my school is, than Get Gutsy Coach Training School is. It wasn't really conducive to me if I would have been a new mom. Like I had the gut instinct to go for it because I knew the babies were on the horizon. I was like, they're coming, they're coming. I've got to do this. I've got to figure it out. And I discovered coaching, and I found the right, program for me at that time. But for a lot of people, like going to in-person stuff all the time is just it's not realistic. It's not even that it's not convenient. It's just like, it's not going to happen. It's just not going to happen. And so cool that you were listening to the trainings while you're nursing, like you're falling asleep. I remember when you were in there, and I was like, oh, how are you doing, Elizabeth? Because I know you're not getting a lot of sleep. You're just not.
I mean, she was only 10 weeks old when the program started.
Yeah. I mean, you're not even out of like that 3 month, they call it like, what is it? The missing fourth trimester or something like that. Like the one you're like, what? I thought I was done after 3 trimesters. Like, no, you got another one. You're not sleeping, all that good stuff. So, as you started coaching, the peer coaching is definitely a huge element of our program, which I know the vast majority of our students take advantage of and love. How did you get your business off the ground? Like, how did you go from like, wow, I'm coaching, my peer in the program, and how did you start getting like your first few clients?
Well, luckily, I came with 15 years of business ownership. Yes. And like I said, learned through trial and error a lot about marketing and all that good stuff. So I think the very first thing I did was I put together a referral letter for my community that I sent to my community, and just said, hey, this is what I'm doing now. These are the people that I want to serve. Please, can you help me get the word out, kind of thing. And that's a really just like a nice old school technique. Yep. People feel like, oh, I have to build a following of 20,000 Instagram followers in order to get clients. And it's like, no, not really.
Yeah. You don't need your fancy funnel. Like, it's just an old school referral letter to people who you have known you. Like, they know you, they like you, they trust you. Fabulous. Thank you. And so you wrote the letter, and you just send it out by email? Did you send it in the regular mail? I emailed it. Okay.
Yep. I emailed it to about 75 people. And I also put notices in a couple of Facebook groups, like a business Facebook group from a program that I had taken. So they were women that I kind of knew because we had been through the same training program. So just put a couple offers out on Facebook, like, hey, I'm a new coach. If you've been curious about coaching, here's who I serve. This is what I help with. And just did it at a fairly low cost to kind of get my feet wet. And then I started hosting in-person workshops after that.
Okay. Yes. Tell us more about those.
Yeah. So in-person workshops are so fun. They're so awesome. I love doing in-person events. And the first few I did were really interactive. They were called Thrive. Yep. And my real passion and mission is bringing together practical business knowledge with deeper inner work.
Yes.
About why we're really here and what life is really about, and how can you show up in your passion authentically in your work. And those are the conversations I'm interested in having.
Yep.
So I developed a series of workshops that turned into a 12-week course because it was the conversation I was interested in having.
Yeah. Love it. Love it.
Which is not necessarily what I would recommend first to people as far as marketing. But I did a lot of target market research as well to make sure that there was an audience for it.
Right. You didn't go in blind. Right. You weren't like, this is the only conversation I'm ever willing to have. But you had enough data and you had enough experience and you lived it, girl. Like you were on the other side of that before this. It was like I was living an inauthentic life. I was like 5 hours before going into labor. I'm like dealing with somebody's freaking design who I don't even want to work with, all that. And so you've like been through that fire. And so you often when we experience deep fire like that, like deep transformation, deep angst, we trust that, it's that the heroine's journey, right? The hero's journey. And so that was the message that you came here to impart. And I think too, when we're like so close to birth, like for you, like we're birthing. I mean, that is an intense experience. That's like amazing. And it's also traumatic and it's everything all in one. And so it's like we go through a rebirth. And I think we also come very close to like, it's a miracle. We come close to death. Like there's just so much involved in that I feel like when we are, those of us who've had that experience, we just come out like even like stronger in what we're here to do because we're like, listen,
definitely.
I've learned a couple things here and I'm ready to share.
I'm not really scared of a couple online trolls anymore.
Exactly.
After what I just did.
I've had a baby that came out of a really small hole. Okay. And so we're going to.
Well,
I love that.
Something about having a girl too, because my son is 5 and he's a boy. And it was something about her when she came out and she was totally white. She was covered with whatever that's called vernix, I think.
Yep.
And she looked like this wizened old, like Samoan. I have no idea where she came. I'm Irish. I have no idea.
Right.
She just looked like this wizened old, like wild, wise woman. And I remember looking at her in those first couple weeks and thinking like, how can I do absolutely anything but show you what a purposeful, aligned, alive, and inspiring woman looks like? I just I felt the need to do it for her. Whereas before her, I felt the need to stay put for my son.
Right.
Like, oh, I don't want to rock the boat. Oh, this business is providing for our family. It's the responsible thing to do. And then it just completely shifted on its head with her, where it was like, no, they're the reason I have to go for it.
Oh, wow. Isn't that awesome? Like our children give us so many gifts, but that one right there, like, whoa, wow.
Yeah.
So you've done a bunch of these in-person workshops. You basically do them in the Boulder area where you live?
Yep. I do them in the Boulder area. And I am focusing right now on private coaching. Which is smart, and I counsel a lot of my, like our students or our newly graduated superstars. Like that's where you're going to get the biggest bang for your energetic buck. You're going to get the highest revenue. And you're going to get more of that field work in. That's what I say. It's like you're going to be in the trenches with your people. You're going to really understand what they're up against, what they're dealing with, how they think. And then from there, you can translate it into, a course or a program or a mastermind, or you're going to have your retreat and invite people and all that kind of stuff. Okay, so you're focused on the private coaching. Good. Yeah, because I found that with my group program, and I also hold monthly mastermind events that are open to the community, that I'm trying to pack so much wisdom and like action items and challenges in the 10 minutes that they have the floor. I'm like, no, but this and this and this and this.
Yeah.
And I find that one thing that I'm seeing a lot is that because there are so many amazing resources available online and a lot of free ones, people are kind of just binging on these online courses.
Yep.
And they still don't really know what to do to move their businesses forward, to speak in their authentic voice, to choose a path that's right for them and for their business. And they're getting paralyzed.
Yep.
So I feel called to do the one-on-one work right now so that I can really help people simplify and focus and give them customized, plans of attack.
I love that for you. And thank you for sharing kind of your journey around that. Because I know, for people listening, some are ready to become a coach. And so I'd love to hear your insights on, like what you would say to somebody considering, becoming a coach and joining Get Gutsy Coach Training School. But then others are like, and then how do I do it? Like, where do I go? Because there's all this differing advice online. But I come back to that, just one-on-one clients. There's nothing wrong with that. And so many people kind of say they don't want to do it anymore. And a lot of coaches and entrepreneurs, when they reach a certain level, they say they don't want one-on-one clients anymore, because you can create more leverage and scale as you have,
totally.
groups and things like that. But I did the same approach as you, Elizabeth, one-on-one. Like, it was just, and I had a blast doing it. Like, I really loved my clients. I mean, I think if you love your clients and you work with your ideal clients, then you should love the work. Right? It's not like you're working with that one who you're just like, I can't do this anymore.
Yeah.
And, sometimes that still happens, because we get into something and you realize, okay, this is not the ideal fit for me, but you learn, right? And you tighten up your messaging and your approach.
Exactly. And it's all about the stage of the business you're in.
Yes.
And the life that you want to have.
Yes.
And it's really that simple. I think people think like, oh, well, in order to succeed, I have to do da. Well, there's way more than one way to succeed. There's thousands of ways.
Yes.
And there's thousands of definitions of what success is. So what is yours?
Mm-hmm. Yes, that sounds like a big piece of your message that you share with your people, and I can see why your clients are so drawn to you. And so the one-on-one clients, are they coming from your workshops that you're doing, and some of them then say, oh gosh, Elizabeth, I want to work with you. Some of them are coming from your gorgeous, you do some fantastic Facebook ads, so congratulations on that. How are they coming to you, and are they going through your a free, like a discovery call strategy session type deal? Mm-hmm.
Some are through my community, my in-person community, my network here in Boulder.
Yep.
Some are through my online community. So I have a pretty big Facebook group that I love called Rising Fempreneurs. So it's so funny that you called me a rising star, because that's what I call them all the time.
Yay!
Yeah. So rising is a big word for me, because I just want to embrace that concept of evolving, growing, playing bigger, and everyone rising up together like a rising tide. And so that is my group. So I have a growing community there, the in-person group, and then recently just started doing Facebook ads. And I have a simple little funnel for people. I'm going to say the F word, which is like all the
great funnel.
All the rage.
So
right
that
now.
and so like that would be something. Tell our listeners how they could grab whatever it is that you're like doing a Facebook ad for. Is that some kind of freebie that you would offer up to our people?
Yes. So I recorded a 30-minute audio that I'm giving away for free right now, and it's called 5 Steps to Profit, Productivity, and Purpose. And it's really aimed to help you simplify and clarify and actually focus on what will move your business forward instead of being a chicken with your head cut off.
Yes. Yes. I love that. Where can they go grab it? What's the link?
It is elizabethwinheld.com/5steps.
And so it's the number 5?
Yep. Number 5 and then steps.
Beautiful. Well done on that. Y'all listening, take note of how simple the URL is, right? elizabethwinheld.com. That's her main site, /5 steps. I always have to have like these teaching elements in, because sometimes we have students will come in and they have a great thing, but their URL is like out of control. It's like, oh my God, I'm like, no, we got to clean that up. We got to clean it.
Definitely. Definitely.
Well done on that. Okay, y'all, so go check that out. Fantastic. Elizabeth, what would you say to that listener right now who perhaps is in the shoes that you once were, where they're realizing there's another way for me. I want to lead retreats. I want to be this leader. I want to, I have a message. I have something that I want to share. And I feel like it's the path of coaching. What would you say just about that path of coaching, and specifically about Get Gutsy Coach Training School, that might help them make a decision to move forward?
I would say to get really quiet and make space for the process to emerge. First and foremost, like, don't go looking for a million different resources. You probably already have the answer inside yourself. So just get quiet and to trust your gut. I think that the webinars that you did were perfect, because we're not in the same state. We're not in the same part of the country. And I could really get a sense for you and your style and your personality. And I just knew in my gut that it was right for me. So it's like, it doesn't have to be complicated.
Right. So
it's
beautiful.
Either it's right for you and do it, or think about, process around it some more. And it's not that there's no processing, obviously. We're always doing the inner work, but I mean, I would say if it feels right, to go for it. And there's going to be fear. There's always fear. It's just part of the process.
It's
beautiful. Just a matter of whether you listen to the fear and let it keep you stuck, or whether you acknowledge it and move forward.
Well said. And like the trust your gut, and it's just interesting as I came up with Get Gutsy, it was really like being brave and courageous, but it was really like connecting into that gut. And I think so many times as women, the vast majority of our audience is women, although Elizabeth, you'll get a kick of it. We had our first guy in our last class. He's amazing. I was so pumped. I was like, yes, like
I remember seeing him in the group.
He's fabulous. And so all y'all guys out there, if you are comfortable being around lots of strong women and you don't get phased, like, we love you. Come on in and join us. Because, not every guy wants the super masculine, like, rah, 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 go crush them and crush your competition. Like, we have a certain vibe, a certain energy. But really that feeling of, trusting your gut, like understanding that your body is telling you, and I think especially for those of us who are mothers, like our bodies are telling us things. My body was telling me I had babies on the horizon. My body was telling me it was time to leave my 6-figure New York City job. I didn't have my own design company like you did, but I had that big carrot that was being dangled in front of me that was also a bunch of handcuffs, right? Like chains. So we had to be willing to break through on that. You are one of our Get Gutsy certified coaches. I remember when we had that call. I'm so pumped to have you. You're amazing when I bring you on to support our membership community, which is Get Gutsy University, which all of our Get Gutsy Coach Training School students get access to. Like, they love you. Our community loves you. You have this way about you. You have this energy. You're very grounded. You have this wisdom. I know you've had many lives that you've lived, before this lifetime. So I want to acknowledge you, Elizabeth. And I want to hear the answer to our finale question. What's the gutsiest move you've ever made, and how does it inspire your life and work today?
Well, you may have guessed it based on the interview so far, but I think the gutsiest move I've made so far was really making the decision to step away from my business and take a chance on coaching. Yeah, and it inspires me all the time because it wasn't that long ago, and I remember the fear. And I remember the fear, and I moved through it, and I can see how far I've come in that span of time. And it's easy to just look back, and it's a real watershed moment. I can look back to that moment and be like, oh, remember that?
Wow.
And wow, we've changed a lot since then. And to allow myself to continue to explore and pivot and change and grow, and use that as inspiration for, like, we're always evolving.
Yes. Until we die. I say when we're done, we're dead. When we're done, we're dead. It's like, and do we want to be dead yet? I don't want to be dead yet. And I think for some of us, we were kind of like, I felt like The Walking Dead when I was going through the motions, and I'm like, oh my God, I have to do the same subway ride every single day, going to an office that I don't want to go to. I'm uninspired. This can't be it. This can't be it.
Totally.
So I feel like for so many of us who were called to the path of coaching, we know that instinctively, like, this can't be it. There's more to life. And so we had to go on our own heroine's journey and do it for ourselves before we can coach somebody else through it. Like, that's the personal growth path. That's us being in integrity, being in alignment, being authentic, which I know is absolutely like a huge part of your brand. So Elizabeth, you hang out a lot on Facebook, so people can find you. Like, what social media spots do you want to connect with peeps?
Yep, primarily Facebook. My Facebook page is just Elizabeth Winheld, and my Facebook group is Rising Fempreneurs. I also have an Instagram profile, which is also just Elizabeth Winheld. And my website is elizabethwinheld.com. All very easy.
So clean.
Yes.
You're very branded. Yeah, but y'all listen to this episode, like not only just from her journey, but the way you've done it, Elizabeth, the way you've been like very mindful and conscious about the decisions that you've made. You've done an excellent job. And, you know, as someone who's had the privilege of teaching you, walking you through this path, again, huge acknowledgement, huge congratulations. I'm so excited to know you, to have had the opportunity to teach you, and to watch you really skyrocket. And I look forward to, you know, co-leading more calls with you as one of our fantastic Get Gutsy certified coaches. You are, I mean, these interviews are so cool for me because it's like, you are who I was praying for. It was like when I had these calls, I was like, I was praying, like, I feel like this program has a place in the world. And what you said about the fear, it's like, you know, sometimes you feel like, wait, can I do this? Like, am I allowed? Do I have to go get permission? Like, there's all these other, like, for you, can I, like, just leave my deal? Like, can I just walk away? What's going to happen? And, you know, I had to go through the same thing when I created the school. It's like, can I just do this? Like, whose permission do I need to get? It's like, you need to get your own. Like, get right with yourself, get right with God, the universe, like whatever that spiritual belief system is for you, and then just freaking move because, you know, this is all we've got. This is the one lifetime that we have. And Elizabeth, I know that you are going to just touch so many more lives. I look forward to one of these days meeting in person.
Yes.
I know it will happen. And everybody go check her out. Go grab her gift, elizabethwinheld.com/5steps, and keep coming back. We got more amazing episodes for you during Gutsy Coach Week. This is Jenny Fennig sending you so much love, light, and faith as you get gutsy. I will see you next time.
Hey, this is John Lee Dumas of EO Fire, and you're listening to Get Gutsy with Jenny Fennig. Gutsy leaders unite and ignite.
This episode of Get Gutsy was brought to you by Get Gutsy Coach Training School. This is the program teaching the future generation of coaches how to make a difference and a great living. So, if you haven't figured it out by now, I have built my business around this calling of a coach. That is what my podcast is based on. My book is based on that. The courses and programs that I've developed over the years have really allowed this calling of me being a coach to get unleashed in the world in such a massive way. And I am able to be a confident coach because I went through coach training. I learned what it took to be strong and supportive for my clients, and also how to be a phenomenal entrepreneur, a smart marketer, and a savvy business owner. And I realized that there was a total gap in the market for those of you out there who want to train under a successful coach, a successful entrepreneur, someone who walks her talk, is able to provide that gorgeous sacred container for you to claim your expertise and gifts, for you to package up the gorgeous value that you add to the world, and for you to be able to create a lifestyle that is beyond your wildest dreams, for you to be able to help as many people as you care to during this lifetime. And truly, being a coach is just, it's completely epic. So we are in the throes of our enrollment period for Coach Training School. I invite you to check it out. It is going to be absolutely extraordinary. We'd love to serve you in Coach Training School. Come on over and check it out. It teaches you exactly what you need to know now to truly make it as a coach, and you will not find anything in the market quite like this or at such a huge value. Come check us out, coachtrainingschool.com. That's coachtrainingschool.com. Gutsy coaches unite.